Okay, it seems there was some glitch with the sound before, so I will just repeat what I said before. We will have in this episode, we will go to the second part of the templating stuff. So actually it will be about fluid templates and how they are connected, real basics of the fluid template, not the full template. Because this was something we were missing last time because it took a bit longer to get the configurations for the backend layouts up and running. And as you might have remembered, there was no front-end output at all, which is because of the fact that we had the minimum installation, and this is what I'm currently showing. We have just a few of the Type3 modules installed, and which we didn't have installed yet was the one TS template, and additionally with fluid styled content we need the CK editor, rich text editor too, because otherwise we will run into some error messages. As you can see, I already installed grid elements as well. Still, this will not be part of this session, but I just wanted to show you how we did it before we go to the actual templating stuff. So when I go to the PHP Storm window now, we can just check the composer JSON here. And as you can see, we just added fluid styled content, CMS, RTE, CK editor, grid elements, team grid elements is now in here. And after pushing that to the repository and doing a composer update, these extensions have been automatically fetched from the repositories and are now available in the Type3 backend. And this is why you can go to that backend now and actually activate the most basic TypeScript stuff we did within the template here. So usually in the root page of your website, which is the only page we currently have, you will have a TypeScript template. And when you go to the template module, you can just see that this is more or less empty. But when we edit the whole template record, there's at least one include here, which is the likes cooking template in here. That's the static template of the extension likes cooking, which is our side package. We could include the other things here too, but actually we don't have to do that because we can do that from within the side package extension itself. So when we go to PHP Storm and open the TypeScript, you can see there is a section called dependencies up in here. This is automatically created by the site package builder. You might not see the comments in here, but it makes sense to have these comments to separate the stuff so that you actually know where you are and what to put where. So we have the include TypeScript here for the TypeScript of the extension fluid styled content, which is the basic TypeScript, and we have grid elements configuration TypeScript here. Then we have the helper, which is provided by the site package extension itself, and then we have the actual setup here. So this is something I will explain later on with meta stuff and all these things. Currently we are just talking about the templates and how they are connected and how we can create stuff that matches the backend layouts that we have created. So first of all, we should just take a short look at the backend layouts again, which are in page mod web layout backend layouts. The default one was provided by the site package builder, and there's another one which is basic tsconfig here. And we have the 2 columns tsconfig here. So default would be just one single column. You can leave this in because then you will have at least one backend layout available if there is nothing selected and nothing for the next level selected. Still, the actual basic would be the one with the header, the content, and the footer column. And the 2 column thingy here was about the same thing, but we have 2 columns in the content section. And as you can see, we have this in the backend. Go to the page module. I think currently the two column section should be selected. Now we can adjust this a bit, although it doesn't make much sense if we have grid elements installed, because when we have grid elements, the point is that call span will not be the same as setting a width, but still we can do that for pages where there's not much structure and it will still work. So what I will do now is I will just increase the column count here and increase the call span here and add another call span to the main content column and one down here. So when we now upload that, and reload, I just should show you the PHP Storm window too. So what I did is I just added another column to the call count, raised the call span to be 3 from 2, added another call span 2 here, and we have the call span 3 down here. So this will now render in the backend slightly different if we did everything right. Maybe we have to clear the caches first. No, doesn't make much difference because I think because grid elements is installed. So the point is you cannot have the width together with the call span, because when you have fixed width to just make these call spans work as a width, this would not work with the structured content that might have nested structures in there, because then we will overlap the maximum width and this will not be working. So we have to do it with an automatic stretch. Okay, so now let's take a look at the front end. We still have the two columns in here. So this was the style that we did last time, but which did not make it to the front end because we missed the TypoScript template. Now it is working. And when we go to the page and select another column, another backend layout here, basic in this case, we will have another view. And of course, this should change the front end output too. Okay. So now the idea is to just provide the basic HTML structure from the template and we will try to think about how to separate the parts from each other, because when we take a look at the original template here, there are several sections on all these things, and of course we have that in the code already as well, because we have it in the template down here. And when we go to the site and, for example, take the actual index HTML, which is the main start page, you will see several parts in here. We will have page text center, then we have a header up here, we have a main class equals page content, and we have the footer, and there seems to be some additional output for tabs and all these things, which is not placed inside the actual structure. So the idea would be to say, okay, we have class page text center, then we have the header class, the main class, the footer class, and this is something which I would expect to be in the template or the layout. So first of all, we should think about how these layouts and templates are connected to each other, and this is done in here. You might remember we have a backend layout which is 2 columns in basic, so we need I will just switch to another one so that you can actually see the stuff without the chat window. We have basic and 2 columns in here, which actually matches the backend layouts that we created. And additionally, there is a layouts folder here, and there's a partials folder here. In the partials there's nothing yet. In the layouts folder we have at least a default layout, which is doing a main navigation and some section in here. The point is that you always start with the templates. Inside the templates you can use the layout view helper to create, not to create, but to select a matching layout, which will then be fetched from the layouts folder. And after that you can use several sections that will be then used by the layout. So when we go to basic section and maybe call that layout basic, upload this to the likes cooking section, and now go to the front end, you will see actually there should be an error message. Yeah, because we did not create a matching layout with the name basic. We get an error message telling us, okay, there is something missing. We have been looking for it in several paths, and here is resources, private layouts, page, basic, and this is missing. So what we do now is we can do a copy of this page. Actually, we have to rename it basic HTML. Can add it to the Git already because we will need that later on. And when we now reload the page, we should at least see the same thing that we did before. Did I upload it already? Basic HTML, likes cooking, resources, private layouts, page, basic HTML. Yeah, that's right. Maybe we have to clear the cache just to make sure everything is there. Okay, I will now go to the Chrome window. Okay, from the actual point of view, nothing has been changing because now we still see the stuff with a basic thingy in here. But now we can rework the whole structure. The idea of this separation is that we will have a template for the actual matching the actual layout, that backend layout that we are creating. Then we have the layout to do the actual layout, while the template is providing stuff like section main, for example, which is the one in here. And in that main section we can just write something else here. Section main of template basic. And within this section we will do something which is similar to the stuff that we found in main here, which is a tag. So what we can do now is we add the div which is surrounding all these different sections to the layout. Then we can say, okay, render section main, render section, which sections do we have? We have the header and the footer. And of course we can now, maybe I can close the default stuff here because we don't need it anymore. Okay, layouts basic. We have the header and the footer. And we will have another /div in here. So that's a very, very basic layout of our basic page. And I would expect to get another error message because we try to render sections which are actually not available. Section header does not exist. So when you get these error messages, it makes much sense to just read them, not fully read them, but at least read the stuff in the red box, maybe even a bit more. So you will get the information which what is actually missing and what you should do about it and how to change it. So in this case, we will need another section. In our basic template. So we have the section main here. And now we can, maybe it's a good idea to just have them at least in the same order as they appear in the layout. So we will have a section footer, a section main, and something else here. And you might remember we gave the sections numbers. So we have the header is number 2, this one is number 3, this one is number 0. And this is what we can do in the template too. This is number 2, 0, and 3. So we would already fetch content from these sections. Still, I will keep the header in here, section main, section header, and section footer. And when we now upload that and put it to the front end, the error message should be gone. And as you can see, we have section header of template basic, section main of template basic, and section footer of template basic. So this is exactly the layout that we created in our layout file. This is the order, and when we change to this order here, it doesn't matter if it's the same order in the actual template, because the order is determined by the layout. So when we go now and reload the page, we have section main on top and then header and then footer, which is of course wrong, but I think you get the point. So I will switch that back now. And now we come to the actual content part. So since we already used the TypoScript part in the template, you see here's a TypoScript object path which is using lib dynamic content, and it is handing over corpus 2. I want everything from column 2, everything from column 0 should go here, and everything from column 3 should be in this part. So I would expect some content to be visible in that output already. So we can create something here, just a basic text element, nothing fancy. Content, or make it real content for the header. When you click on close, you will be asked if you want to save before. So it's similar to this save and close or save and new buttons that we had before. And we can do the same here. So we have content here. Just add a header. Real content for content column. And we can just drag and drop that down here, press Ctrl to copy. So we already have something to work on for the footer section. Real content for the footer. Now let's see if the system is fast enough, because I just unhide the element, but currently it does not say anything. Just missed the button. Okay, so we have real content for the footer, for the content column, and for the header, and I would expect this to be visible in the front end now. As you can see, this is already working. So the major goal to just get the content from these columns to the front end has already been reached. Now we can do the same thing like we did for the basic section for the two columns. So we can actually do a copy of this HTML and fluid structure. The layout then is of course not basic, but two columns. And we have the section main, and then we will have another section here, which is section sidebar. Section sidebar of the template. Of course it's not basic, but two column. Okay. Now we can upload this one. And of course we have to create the two columns layout too. And in this case we need another section here, which is sidebar. And we can check the original template. I think there was something with news, modern news, or Mason. I think modern, no, maybe just news. We'll check that. We have page text center, then we have the header. We have a section for the breadcrumb, main class, and then we have section 70 in here. And then we have something else besides that. So it would be a good idea to put something around doesn't have to be a container, but it's just to get an imagination how this could be done. So we have the header section, we have the container in here which renders some main and sidebar section, and we have the render section footer in here, and we can now upload that. And when we now go to the backend and change the layout, I can show you something about layouts and how you should structure them, because when we now switch the layout, it is essentially that the columns that are provided by the layouts match as close as possible. Some people are telling you otherwise because they say we have to make sure that everything within a certain column is just something that belongs to exactly that column. But it makes sense to use the same column numbers for the same things. For example, we have column 2 up here, column 3 down here, column 0 is the content column, and then column 1 is the sidebar column. This should be the same for all layouts that have the same stuff like header, content, footer, and sidebar, because then you can easily switch layouts. When we now have something in a sidebar column and you switch to a layout which is not using a sidebar column, then it will be not completely lost but put to the unused column. So this will still be available, but the point is, if you switch between layouts and nothing is the same and no columns match, then you will lose your content completely to the unused column, and you have to put it back to get something in the front end as a visible output. So currently we should have something in here, so we can just drag and drop again, drag it, press the control bar, and this should be real content for the sidebar column. Okay, now we can go to the front end and check what happens there. We have section header of template 2 columns, real content for the header, real content for the content column, section sidebar is the content. No, it's not real content for the content column, of course. It has to be content for the sidebar column. So maybe we have to clear the cache. Oh no, we don't have to clear the cache because we did something wrong. I can show you what is the actual bug here. When we go to the sections, you will see that I forgot to change the column number in here. So when you go to the sidebar and then upload this again, it should be working now. Yeah, we have real content for the sidebar column now. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you today, because we started a bit later and there were some problems with the sound in the beginning. I will just go to the partials now. And the idea is we have the template matching the backend layout. Then we have some layouts. You don't have to have a matching layout for each and every template. For example, it might be enough to just provide a 2 columns layout for all 2 columns templates here. So you can reuse the layout name, so it doesn't have to be exactly the same layout name as the template name, but still you can have something like 2 columns as a layout for everything which is 2 column, basic for everything which is just using header, content, and footer. So you have just a few layouts up here. You have a matching template for everything which is necessary to be provided for the backend layouts that he created. And after that, you will have partials. And the partial is a kind of repetitive stuff. So everything which is exactly the same within different sections of different templates for different layouts, but still done with the same code, should be done in partials, because then the partial has to be created only once, and if you want to change it, you will just change it once, and then it will be changed in each and every template and layout that you are using. So for example, we could do something in here. My partial, we can just call it partial, should be enough. we can just give it some data. I have to check that now, the exact syntax. I will just go to the PHP Storm window. So okay, you might remember the sources I showed you last time. So when we go to the main without cam, you can see we are in the type 3 fluid helper reference now, and there's a render view helper that we are using now, and you can now see how this is actually working. We have either a section, which we already used, and now there's a partial, and we can hand over some arguments to that partial. So it would be arguments and all will give you everything which is available. Of course, you can and you should actually not always hand over everything to that partial, because you will not need all the data within each and every partial. But in this case, it just shows what we can do that. So we have a partial here, and we can do something with that. And now we have to create something which is called partial in the page partial folder. I will not add that to the Git repository now, because I will change its name later on anyway. So we can use this. There's of course no layout in here and nothing fancy. We can just do a debug output so that you can actually see what is handed over to the partial, and then we can do something with it. Upload that. And I would expect this to be done in the header section. So maybe we can add something more than just the debug output. H2, I am a partial. Okay, if we did everything right, I would expect this to be visible in the upper section. Maybe we just put it to the wrong layout or to the wrong template. Just have to check that. Nope. But of course we have to upload that too. As you can see, we have I am a partial here, and here we have the debug output. So when you use, or actually you cannot see because I have to activate it. Here's the debug output, here's I'm a partial, and you can use this debug output to just find out what is available, which variables are there to be used in your partial, your templates or wherever. So when we go back to this one, we have a partial here. This is the debug of all, and if you just want to see, for example, the data variable, you can just write this here, and after that the front-end output should be changing and just show that part. Because sometimes this is necessary because you get a lot of information and deeply nested arrays, and sometimes you reach a maximum level. So when you have that, you can go just a bit down the line and just give it another variable that will then be put to the front end. Okay, so this is it for today. We have a front-end output now. We have templates and layouts and partials now, and I showed you how they are connected and how they how you should use them. So templates are for the matching files that you need for your backend layouts. Layouts are there for a basic structure that can be reused within several templates, and partials are for recurring stuff, which is something that we will do in the next session. And of course we can then add some CSS files and other stuff too, so that it will not be that boring in the front end anymore. So expect that to happen in the next session. If you have any questions, you can ask these now. If you want to support us, you can go to the other section in Twitch, but currently the point is that we need at least 50 followers to be able to be supported in Twitch. Otherwise we will not get the status of Twitch affiliate. So it would be nice if you can tell your friends or other people that they should follow us, so that we can reach the 50 follower mark. You can still go to coders.care, for example, if you are into service level agreements, and you can go to our GitLab page of Coders Care and Grid Elements, because down there you will see some sponsoring links: Coders Care, Patreon, Flatter, PayPal, and the Amazon.com wishlist. And I want to say thank you to Boris, who just sent us something from my Amazon.com wishlist. It arrived today, so thank you very much for that. And I hope you liked it, and you will come back next week when we are about partials and we make the stuff look a bit better. Thanks for watching. Bye.